so much for watching. If you could please click the subscribe button, it'd be really appreciated, and feel free to share any of my videos on your social media. This is a video on my experience of London to Brighton, which is my first time doing the London to Brighton run, and it could actually be the last time, as they are extending the lower emission zones as of August this year in London, meaning it may be the last London to Brighton that they do. And this will actually be the 36th London to Brighton mini run, and as I've mentioned, due to the ULEZ, which is the lower emission zone for those who aren't in this country watching this video. So basically it's an area of the city that they're trying to reduce the emissions. So vehicles of certain CO2 emission levels have to pay to drive in that zone. It can be anything from about £12.50 per day. So to purchase a ticket for the London to Brighton run, you had to go online onto their website, and it was Sunday the 15th of January this year, so it's quite a while ahead of the actual run, which is taking place the 21st of May. So you had to go online. It was one ticket per person and one ticket per car, so you can have as many passengers as you can physically fit into your mini. And the event is open to all minis, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a classic mini that you own. The tickets were £45 plus postage, which was £2, and again you could only have one ticket per person. I was quite lucky to get a ticket on the day. My partner also got one, and my friend Tom. Unfortunately, there was a bit of an issue with the payment system, so my friend Lewis didn't manage to get one on the day, but then the London to Brighton team did let everyone know. Quite a few people didn't get tickets due to the payment system being down. Now that didn't mean the tickets were sold out, just meant due to the payment error they weren't able to take any more payments. So then I think it may have been a couple of weeks later they could then manage to go online and get a ticket. They did of course sell out, so there was quite a few people that missed out on tickets. I noticed the weeks coming up to the event, even though the tickets were sold out online, there's quite a few people that minis aren't ready, unfortunately, so they are looking to sell their tickets online. So I have noticed quite a few of them cropping up on the London to Brighton Facebook page in the weeks coming up to the event. I think for a lot of people, because it's deemed to be the last time they're going to do the London to Brighton run, a lot of people are interested in actually getting the run done, and you only see good feedback on Facebook as well. So after purchasing my ticket, it arrived in the post, and as part of your ticket you get a run pack, you get a plaque, and you get a t-shirt which you have to choose a size of. That can't be changed, so once you've chose that online you couldn't change that. That came with the ticket. So anyone that sold their ticket on, because they couldn't make the run for any reason, they had to stick ticket size. But things like the t-shirts and the plaques and merchandise can be purchased when you get to Brighton, so they can be purchased separately, as of course it is only one t-shirt per ticket, and that ticket is for your car, not per passenger. And then on the back you've got information of where to find your run pack on the London to Brighton website, so that will tell you some frequently asked questions, and that will also tell you information about camping, or if you're not camping, timing wise, when everyone sets off, when everyone needs to be there to get their driver information pack. So we've decided to camp overnight, and because dogs are allowed, we're going to be taking one of our dogs with us. So we'll be making the convoy down to London, and we'll be having a couple of stops on the way for the dog. If you didn't get a ticket, you can also drive down to Brighton to meet everybody in Brighton, so you don't have to have a ticket to meet everyone in Brighton. So there's quite a number of minis that, even though they didn't get a ticket for the run, do tend to come to Brighton to look at all the minis and meet up. There are people that come from all over the world to actually come to the London to Brighton run. So there are people that have commented that are saying they're coming from like Germany, coming from France, and then I think around about 7 o'clock in the evening they line up the cars for the people that are camping. So you can arrive for camping between 12, and then the cut off for arriving for camping is 10 o'clock in the evening. So I'm not sure what time we'll be arriving, but again I'll show you that journey throughout the video. So we're just heading off to London now. We're just going to meet my friend Tom, who's joining us to convoy down. That's just my dog in the background, so apologies for that. We're just going to meet him at the M5 Old Bridge Junction, and then we're going to drive down to London together, drop two of the dogs off at my sister's house in London, and then one of the dogs is going to stay with us. He's going to camp and do the whole London to Brighton journey with us. So that's just the noise he's making in the back. He's just really excited at the moment to say. So we're just waiting to go in now, so they're just lining the minis up, which is why we've got to wait. So we just drove in, and then you just show your ticket as you drive in. They'll give you a black bag for all your rubbish, and then we're just waiting just so we can drive in, because they're lining all the minis up. So of course they don't want us to start driving in and ruin everything, so we have got to wait. So they said if we were 2 minutes earlier we could have drove in and got in the line, but we're just gonna have to wait, which is fine. It's no problem at all. So I've just got out the car just so I can film all the minis being lined up, because there's quite a lot of them. So hopefully I can show you them on the video. But there's lots of classics now, so I couldn't see them at first. I could only see the newer generations, but there is lots and lots and lots of classics here, which is amazing to say. As I mentioned earlier in my video, there are people that come all the way from Europe, not just parts of the UK, to go to this really fabulous event. So it's really great to see that shared passion for the Mini brand. Still waiting to join the lineup, as it just takes some time to obviously pop everyone in the lineup. So we're just still waiting, and then hopefully we can join at the end of the line. I've got to say, when we arrived onto the campsite, it was a really fabulous sight to see the minis start to be lined up, and just watching them, it was amazing just to see them all lined up. We didn't get to the campsite till about 2 minutes past 7, I think it was. So it took about 50 minutes to an hour to get the cars lined up. And then there was around about 15 cars with us waiting to be allowed onto the campsite. Looking back on our experience now, I definitely would advise to arrive earlier in the day. Unfortunately, my partner was working, so we didn't actually get to this campsite, as mentioned, until 7 o'clock in the evening, which then meant we were quite far back in the queue. So when everyone set off in the morning, we ended up quite far back. So it was a slightly different experience. So I think if we were to do it again, if of course they do the run again, we'll definitely aim to get there a lot earlier on the Saturday so we can get in that queue. So we're parked up now and we're just going to set our tent up for camping for the evening. So we're just in now, they're just setting up the tents, and me and Stan are being really lazy and just sitting in the car. He's just been a bit nosy, that's all, staring at people as they walk past. I feel like we should have invested in a disposable barbecue because everyone else seems to have them and we haven't bought one. So I think we're just going to go to one of the local takeaways that's around the corner and have dinner from there. There is a cafe on site, I believe, so I think we'll be having breakfast there. That opens from 5 o'clock in the morning. We just knew there would be food on site because there was a Facebook group for London to Brighton, so a lot of the information for the run was shared in that beforehand, as there was quite a lot of repeat questions, people asking the same things, so you did see it come up quite often on Facebook about food. I have been told by a lady that was waiting with us when she drove in, and she said that they had to wait a couple of hours in the morning for London to Brighton to actually go off because they were quite far back in the queue. So obviously we'll see how that pans out in the morning. It's our first time doing it, so we'll see what happens. I know I was speaking to Charlie from Mini Girls Club, and she said that they've gone because they thought it was last time they were going to do the London to Brighton run, and that's pretty much why we've come as well, really, because it's the last time and we thought we wouldn't get another opportunity. We haven't come in the classic, we've just come in my Challenge 210, which I originally had a ticket for anyway. We're going to bring 2 cars, and then my friend Tom has obviously bought his LCI 2 F56, and then my friend Lewis, who was meant to come, he's got a Challenge 210, he decided not to come in the end, so we just convoyed down together, which was pretty nice. We did see a few minis on the way, and there's quite a lot of people that have got dogs here as well. As you can see, my dog is pretty sleepy now, so he'll be ready once his tent's set up, so he won't be very happy when I drag him out to go get a takeaway, but I'm sure he'll be happy once he gets a bad sausage or something like that. So we'll see you again in the morning, and hopefully it isn't a 5 AM start. So everyone was up for about 5 o'clock, as that's when you could start getting your mini and joining the queue to leave again in the lineup. We got up a little bit later than that, even though it was quite hard to sleep, as there was quite a lot of noise going on from 5 o'clock onwards as everyone was putting their tents away. So it was quite hard to sleep after that point. So I did get up, and then I waited for Ben and Tom to get up before we packed the tent away. So while I was waiting for them to wake up, I just got some footage of the lineup as people started to join the lineup. Once we packed the tent away, we went and joined the queue, which was relatively quite short, to get our run pack, as we really wanted to get our plaques on the cars and flags, which you could purchase separately on the cars as well. I think they were around about £7 for the flags for 2, and we wanted to get them on before we made the trip to Brighton, as if you went to get your run pack a little bit too late, then you ended up having to get your run pack in Brighton, which of course then you wouldn't have your pack with all your instructions and everything like that in there. So we just got our run pack, so they take the L bit off your ticket, and then you go to the stand and get all your run pack. So in your run pack you've got a little London to Brighton little friend. You've got your run pack on here with your sticker in there. There's been a diversion, so it just lets you know there's been a diversion on there. Important route information. You've got your plaque, and obviously your cable ties them in the run pack, so you can put that on with that. And then you've also got your t-shirt as well. You selected your size when you bought your tickets. Obviously that wasn't transferable, so you just pick all that up at the stand. So we're going to put that in the car, and then we're going to get ready to go. So there was cable ties to put the plaque on the front of the car, but me and Tom, we thought we'd just stick it in the front of the windscreen instead, as it turned out to be a bit tricky with the design of the F56 front bumpers and the grille. You will notice a few people had stickers in their windscreens. They were either for them to be on a club stand, so there's the show and shine section now. On the show and shine section, a little bit which more the show and shine actually got to leave. So you did notice the difference, as well as having that sticker that I mentioned in the front window. And there was also no section for the mini mokes as well, which I'll show you in a moment. There wasn't really many of them, but they were still there in attendance. So at this point, none of the minis had started to leave yet, so we decided to head to the cafe, which was on site at Chain Recreation Ground, and get ourselves a breakfast. So for 2 sandwiches, a bacon and a sausage sandwich, and then 3 hot drinks. I think it was around about £21 in total. And then as we headed back from the cafe, because as you can imagine there was really quite a big long queue for the cafe, even at that point, the minis had started to head off. So by the time we got out the queue, the show and shine had already set off, and members of the regular mini run were starting to head off, as you can see here. So we're just still waiting to head off now. It's 9:15, so I think probably 15 to 30 minutes is when we'll probably head off, because we're quite near the back. So there's only a few lines behind us, but we did get in the queue quite late, because obviously we couldn't get in the queue last night with the lines of cars, and then they opened the queuing from 5 o'clock this morning, but we didn't want to get up that early, so we didn't get in the queue until we packed our tent and stuff and everything like that away, because obviously we didn't want to pack the tent away and then have to traipse all the way down to the car and try and get in the boot, because they do pack you in quite tightly, to then be able to not be able to put anything away properly. So yeah, hopefully in the next 15-30 minutes we should be out on our way, but yeah, the show and shine is headed off, and then the cars started leaving around about 10 to 8 o'clock, and they started heading off. So as we saw the lanes start to disappear, and as it started getting closer to ourselves, we were getting really excited and ready to go. It was a really warm day, so it was really hot outside. So we did turn the car on just to put a bit of aircon on for my dog. So that's why you might hear the engine running in the background at some point. Then this was the point where there was unfortunately a little red classic that couldn't get going. So instead our line was told to head off while the marshals helped. The little red classic, I don't know if that ended up getting there or not. I hope it did. if I actually left the sounds on the video footage of the minis that have broken down or at the side of the road, then you could probably make a remix out of the amount of times that I go, oh no, another mini, oh no. So as you see, we're making our way out of the park now. There was a run going around in the park at the same time, and unfortunately we had to cross the same path that they were running on as part of their run, so that's why it's a bit stop-start. And then of course they were stopping the traffic outside the grounds to let us out, so again that caused a bit of stop-start traffic. Then when we got out, we did have instructions to follow, so we had a booklet, of course, to follow the instructions. It did get to a certain point where I wasn't 100% sure on the instructions. They were a bit confusing, but the majority of the time we were just following the yellow London to Brighton signs that were scattered across the route. We did get lost once because we were following the person in the classic mini in front of us at this one here, and then there was around about 6 minis following us, and then we didn't get on the A23. But thankfully, the number plate Gov Mini got us back on track, so we were on our way to Brighton. And then, funnily enough, when we arrived in Brighton, we ended up in a similar place. So we had the same classic Mini that we let go in front of us, and then we had that silver R50 with the Gov number plate that ended up just in front of us as well. So it was quite amusing that we all went our different routes, but we all ended up at similar places in the route. It was quite funny on the convoy route because everyone had their plaques on the front of the car, but when you're driving behind someone, you can't see their plaques, so you didn't know if they were actually part of the run. So anyone who had them London to Brighton flags, it was quite a blessing because you were like, oh, they're actually part of the run. Hopefully they're going the same way. So I had mine on the front windows, but as you know, when you put the window down, it was quite windy. One of them blew off, which thankfully someone gave back to me. So I ended up putting them attached to the boot in the end. So when you first left Cheam Recreation Ground, it was like a full-on mini convoy, all in a row. But then I found once you got onto the motorway or the A23, because you could take 2 different routes, then it was kind of like you saw a mini every so often. I think if we were further forward in the queue, then we would have probably seen a lot more minis, but not until we got into Brighton did we see obviously the full convoy of minis waiting to queue to get into Brighton. But then when I got out of the car and looked over at the seafront, just seeing all them minis queued up on the road and then seeing all the minis down the bottom, I love minis, and it was just an amazing sight to see, it really was. I'll be honest, I wasn't really sure what to expect when we did it, but I think it was a lot more queuing than what I expected. So I know that's normal, and the lady we met the night before who'd done it before said that obviously plenty of queuing, and loads of people have said that. But if you've got children or you've got dogs, or you can't sit in the car for a very long time, I would just bear that in mind that you will be sat about for quite a bit queuing to get in Brighton, queuing to, of course, get out of Cheam Recreation Ground, which you can get out of your car obviously while you're waiting, but it's just worth bearing that in mind. So it's 2:15 now and we're just pulling onto the seafront. As you can imagine, there is quite a bit of queuing. There's a few people that are trying to get on the seafront that haven't got a London to Brighton ticket, because quite a lot of people do travel down just to see the minis on the day, so they don't necessarily do the run because they haven't got a ticket, and there is quite a few people leaving as well that have already obviously done the London to Brighton and they're off on their way home. But yeah, hopefully we should be on the seafront pretty soon. I mean, there is quite a lot of traffic, but hopefully we should be there pretty soon, but there is quite a lot of traffic. There was also a football match on, so we got caught up in a bit of traffic for that as well, but we're just queuing up to be let on the seafront, so hopefully that'll happen soon. We actually ended up behind the person we originally started following that unfortunately got us lost, and then we're also behind another person that we ended up following at some point just to get back on track. So we've all ended up in a pretty similar timeline really, which I thought we'd end up quite far behind everyone, but we haven't, which is always good. So we've already had the B end of our ticket taken off us at this point, which is B for Brighton. We had the L end taken off in London to get our run pack and our t-shirt, which we had put on at this point. And then they're just directing the traffic, telling people where to park, and people are obviously coming in and out. So they just let us know that of course we can park on the land and sea side, and then just let us know that, of course, drive down, and then we'll be directed into a space by one of the marshals. All the marshals were really good, really great and friendly on the day, for saying they'd been stood there for hours and hours directing traffic. So big thank you to the organisers and all the volunteers and all the staff involved. I also found it was actually like a really friendly experience. I found sometimes when you mix classic owners and the modern generation mini owners, you sometimes do get a bit of hate towards the modern minis, and a few people said to expect that going down to do the London to Brighton run. But I actually got some really, really nice comments on my car, so thank you to anybody who came up and approached me at my car and just said how nice it was. It really is appreciated. So the first bit we drove through and had a look through was the personally owned minis, and then you got the traders along the seafront, and then further up we had a couple of club stands up there as well, which were obviously themed by their different clubs. The merchandise stand was really busy. There were a lot of people buying t-shirts, key rings, towels. I know they sold out of quite a lot of things, so again, if you get that earlier, then you've got more choice and the chance to get the limited edition things, which unfortunately we didn't get the chance to get the little mini or the framed London to Brighton signs. We didn't get the chance to get them either. But I definitely recommend and advise getting there as early as possible if you're camping on the Saturday to get in the queue. Of course, it is a lot of queuing. I've already mentioned that, so as long as you're aware of that. But I also think camping as well is also part of the experience. It's really nice to camp the night before. You get to meet a few people and see a few people that you might already know from the mini scene. So if you do get a chance to go again, I would definitely recommend doing the London to Brighton run, and we'll definitely be doing it again just so we can learn from our experience and go a lot earlier in the day so we can experience a lot more of the day.
Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel for future videos, and please feel free to share any of these videos on social media channels. Thank you so much.